cybersecurity, and the responsible use of the technology. We will be recording the meeting so that other people who were not able to join today could have an opportunity to hear this very interesting discussion and presentations today. So again, repeating to why this meeting is important, which is called Advantages and Threats of Smart Technologies in the Learning Process. First of all, because our project aims to foster digital citizenship, which includes media literacy, cybersecurity, and the responsible use of technology. This session will be a great opportunity to deepen our knowledge, to discuss key challenges, and of course, to exchange valuable ideas. And your active participation is essential, and we hope that today's meeting will truly inspire you in your future endeavors. And we are very much looking forward to an engaging discussion. And I would like to thank all of you, all the participants, presenters, everybody who has supported this meeting and who is attending today. Thank you so much for being with us. And of course, without further ado, I would like to give the word to the professors. And the floor is yours. You are ready to present.
Okay, thank you so much for your word, dear colleagues, dear project organizers. I hope you hear me well, and dear members of the project. We kindly greet you on behalf of Erciyes University. Me, Olga Dalkilich, and my dear colleague Arif Yildirim, we would like to briefly share some notes and experiences about the privileges and risks of smart technologies assisting an educational process. Oh, and sorry, I forgot that we also have a presentation which we would like to share. I will make it in a moment. Sorry for this.
No worries, take your time.
Okay. In such a good atmosphere, you already have an energy from the people and you think you don't need any more. So, presentation will be open soon, yes. Back in Zoom, and I hope that right now you see the presentation.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Okay, then I will continue. The subject is privileges and risks of smart technologies assisting an educational process. And I will move on with the presentation. Yes, smart technology as a path to democratization have an impact also on the educational process in the context of distance learning, which has recently become both a conscious choice of educational institutions and a forced transitional solutions in case of unforeseen factors that prevent the presence and participation of individuals in the educational process. Both options, voluntary choice and forced decision, have several advantages over offline learning, particularly classroom-based learning. Among the benefits is the anthropocentric approach, not only to the student as a subject of learning, but also as a context of learning. Along with the flexibility of personal time, personal space, and individual boundaries, the role of educational democracy, student participation in educational issues, and the possibility of the involvement in other educational, civic, and personal practices, usually incompatible in time and space, can be increased. However, it is this imaginary freedom of the student's chronotype in the coordinates and algorithms of the educational and democratic process that leads to some ethical dilemmas, which, being an inalienable right of the individual outside the classroom, prevent him or her from concentrating and fully perceiving the educational material, and thus again distances him or her from the fulfillment of academic goals. To take a simple example of online lectures, where the student has the right to not turn on the camera, not answer the teacher's calls, be subject to technical problems in his personal home space that do not allow him to be stably online, uncontrollably use in parallel other tools, including artificial intelligence, to support the learning process. Our department has some scientific published and in process works concerning the possibilities and dangers of artificial intelligence in the learning process, particularly for foreign language learning. The results of such studies are ambiguous, given that the computer's artificial intelligence and the learner's emotional intelligence do not correlate. Artificial intelligence is a field that is constantly undergoing technological development, which is often not followed by established ethical and legal acts regulating the use of artificial intelligence, confirming or denying its impact on the level of effectiveness in learning. It is interesting to commit that from the linguistic point of view, the pandemic times brought some lexicographic innovations. For instance, one of the institutes for linguistic research supported an edition of the dictionary of the epoch of coronavirus, which was published in 2021 and, along with other words, contains a lexeme which is called corona law. Still, its meaning is explained as a legal regulation characterized during the coronavirus pandemic by uncertainty and disregard for current laws and citizens' rights. It shows that although the lexis of a period of pandemic created thousands of words which the pandemic reality and its connection to the legal and ethical side of life, the legal and ethical acts themselves did not transform under the circumstances of the period, nor regulate or present solutions to the moral dilemmas during an online educational process. Thus, the unexplored but already existing disadvantages of online teaching should be weighed when choosing between online and offline learning, even if it provides more democracy in education and is sometimes a necessary link to overcome time and space gaps in the learning process. I turn the floor over to my colleague Arif Yildirim to trace the opportunities and risks of using online formats and artificial intelligence, both in the difficult periods for Turkey right now, it was Turkey, of a forced transition to online learning after the 2023 earthquake and the 2020 pandemic, and in targeting online bachelor programs in teaching foreign language.
Thank you, Olga. Unlike the rest of the world, which experienced a pandemic and collectively switched to online format, in Turkey's recent history, the 2023 earthquake also forced a switch to online format in some regions for at least one academic semester. This was an occasion to learn from the mistakes of the pandemic and to improve the quality of the approach to online teaching, not only in terms of teaching competences, but also in terms of organizational processes and the ethical side of this format. We have identified the following risks that have had a negative impact on the teaching process, which moreover have repeated themselves since the pandemic and remain partly unresolved or difficult to regulate. These are mainly the ethical relations between the teacher and the student of the particular educational activity, and in the broader aspect, the relations of the student with the academic institution, the balance between the observance on the one hand of the rights of the student, and on the other hand, of his or her duties and quality rights of personal space. Another consequence of several forced online periods in higher education was the introduction of fully online bachelor programs, one of which I had the privilege to participate in the accumulate another experience. However, for both parties, the training's provider and the learner is voluntary. In this case, the factors that positively affect the students' motivation, attendance issues, etc., come down to a smaller percentage. However, even this percentage reminds the teacher and the institution about the unsettled legal relations between the recipient and the organizer, which, although in isolated cases, may become the cause of not only disagreements, but first of all, the cause of non-achievement of educational goals by the student and the academic goals by the teacher and the institution. As was mentioned before, our faculty, the Faculty of Letters of Erciyes University, is proud of the growing research in artificial intelligence and in its influence on education, particularly foreign language learning. As one of the meaningful results of last year's student symposium, we can underline a publication of our master's students in the International Journal of Humanities and Education, which explores the outcomes and effects of artificial intelligence on foreign language learning. The research concludes that although artificial intelligence, which is undoubtedly one of the biggest steps in developing technology, provides convenience in learning foreign languages, it should be to avoid the negativities regarding ethical norms. Thus, this presentation aimed to identify the pitfalls of online learning and form a conscious, legally and ethically regulated approach to its planning. The regulation of relations and awareness of risks will raise the level of democracy in education, although the online format already contains rich prerequisites. Thank you.
So, dear colleagues, dear members of the project, we kindly thank you, and we thank also the organizer of the project, Georgia, dear Yamzet Miskelidze, and also the other partners from Greece, Bella Maria. We thank you for your attention and the opportunity to share our experience and our conclusions about the smart privileges we all observe and the risks we need to distinguish, to analyze, and search for solutions for. It is very precious to be a part of your project that identifies the paths of the present and future success of smart citizens, of the smart society, of smart education, and smart. Thank you so much. Our presentation is finished. If you have some comments, if you have some questions, we are kindly free to answer. Thank you.
Dear Olga and Arif, thank you very much for a very interesting presentation, very useful for our project. Truly, it was amazing listening to you, and we could do this all day long. Thank you very much for being with us, to being part of this project as well. We are blessed to have you. And dear colleagues, attendees, if you happen to have any questions around the topic, feel free to ask your questions right now. Yes, while it is still available. feel free if you have any questions. We can wait for a few seconds if somebody raises a hand. But if not, I just would love to thank you everybody for dedicating your time and efforts in this project. We believe that we are doing an important job with this, and we are excited to be continuing our journey. And thank you for all of you for being with us, for supporting this meeting, for making it happen. And I guess there are no questions and no hands raising. So, well, in that case,
can I ask one question, please?
Yes, sure. You're welcome.
Okay, first of all, thank you, Iamze and Maria Bella, and thank you for such kind of amazing presentation and your experience, to share your experience. Just I want to ask one question. Of course, artificial intelligence is really very good and amazing. You have everything in only one click. It's full of, it's like an ocean full of opportunities. But does not it mean that while we using this in the studying, so the students don't do individual works and they work less individually? This is negative sides, yeah?
Yes,
what
of
about
course.
your experience in this case? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your question so much. Really, we ask ourselves those questions every day in our practice, and I can give you such real example. We have a lesson of foreign language, and I asked some question for students, and waiting for the answer. Thanks, student, they admit that they found an answer with the help of artificial intelligence. They say me an answer, and I'm okay. It's okay. We found an answer, but I'm stepping with the following questions. Do you know the source of this answer? And in this way, the answer, I think, is finished, because the artificial intelligence has, okay, sorry, my Turkish is flowing. The artificial intelligence has a direct answer, but one of the biggest difficulties, especially in teaching in higher education, is that artificial intelligence doesn't include, normally, if you don't want like to search more, it doesn't include sources right away. That's why our presentation, one of the key words of our presentations was ethical and legal acts, the ethical side. So for the higher education, for a higher education research, the source, the problem of the sources, the problem of the how we rely on the source, it's one of the first questions. So one of the first steps is that, yes, one of the first minuses is that artificial intelligence doesn't give us a source, and other things which we, yes, but the most important for the higher education especially, yes, of course, this answer can follow that like we don't form a critical thinking also from this question, like that we rely on the answers directly 100%. We trust the answers, and we don't develop critical thinking. We don't compare the answers from different sources. We don't work, okay, like electronical sources, we're used to them, but we don't take a paper in our hands, and our hands, this small motorics, it's also not working, and like different sides, physical, neurological, cognitive sides, which don't include into the work of the artificial intelligence. So many sides, but one of the sides which we wanted to underline in our presentation, which comes from our everyday experience, is this ethical side with sources and reliability and critical thinking.
Thank you for such kind of detailed answer. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Thank you.
truly, I believe ethical questions, what you mentioned, are something to maybe further discuss in the future as well, maybe in order for all of us to find some answers how we could work with students in this case, so that to allow them to work with artificial intelligence, but at the same time to be able, so that they are aware what they are doing and from which sources they are receiving the information. So this awareness is very important, and of course not always artificial intelligence can be reliable as well. So this understanding is also very important. Thank you so much for pointing out for this question and for the answer as well. Maybe we have somebody else who has any other question around the presentation. Well, I don't see the raised hands just yet, but in any case, if you happen to realize that you have some questions or some topics you would like to discuss with our experts, maybe we could in the future find an opportunity how to interact with each other and contact each other around these important and interesting topics. So if there is nobody who has any questions, in that case, I think we can close today's meeting. And once again, I would like to thank our experts for the presentation, for the participants, for your participation, attendance, and for your questions as well. We hope that it was interesting. I am very sure that what it was interesting and useful for you. And simply thank you everyone for being together with us and for supporting the project.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much once again. Have a wonderful day and wonderful upcoming weekend. And hopefully see you soon again. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you soon.
Bye.
Soon.